and go.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Kell. I'm an alum of Emory, of the colleges and Emory College. I'm a longstanding volunteer at the Alumni Association, and now I'm a staff member there. Welcome to Atlanta Over 40 Network as it presents Allison, Gilmore, and Resilience. This is the first event of the season. I hope that you'll continue to follow the network and the presentations that we're going to be offering throughout the fall and winter, and hopefully next year in person. Follow us on Facebook, if you will, if you use Facebook, and also look for emails from the university. So I want to take a moment to introduce Michael Young, who's president of the network, and he can get us started. Welcome.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kevin. Hey, it's really great to be joining you, everybody, virtually. I know this is the first virtual event, actually the first event that Emory Over 40 has done since the pandemic began. And so this is kind of an experiment for us, but certainly something that's gonna be really great. We've got a fantastic speaker in Allison Gilmore to talk about resilience, something we can certainly all benefit from in these times. Before we get to that though, I wanted to kind of just encourage everyone to get your microphones off and cameras on. Let's engage. We're gonna have a couple of great breakout sessions to discuss and network a little bit and talk a little about resilience. It's gonna be a great opportunity to do more than just listen to a webinar or just sit there passively. We can really get into this and ask questions and hopefully learn and grow a lot together. Before we get to that though, Emory Over 40 really focuses on three big things: professional development, fellowship, and fun community service opportunities. And together we try to enable our members to thrive professionally as well as personally. So we know we're all busy, we're all professionals, we have busy lives, there's a lot of stuff going on. And so we try to target all of our content and all the things that we do around those things that really help us be better. To that end, our next event is going to be part of the Emory Cares program. It's going to be a virtual event in support of the North Fulton Community Charities. This is going to be a great thing. We're finalizing the details on right now. And I would think in the next couple of weeks here, we'll be posting some information on that on the Facebook page. So if you're not watching Facebook, if you're not a member of the Over 40 Facebook page, please look at that, check it out, sign up and request access. There's a lot of great information that's coming there. Going ahead past that, we're looking at having a spring event. Depending on what everyone wants to do, this could either be another virtual event, or it could be a possible physical event, or maybe a hybrid event. And we want to do what's comfortable for everybody. So to help us kind of guide us in our decision, what we think we should do and what we want to do, where we want to go, we'd really like to ask for your feedback. After this event, probably tomorrow, an email is going to come into your inbox asking the typical questions about what you thought about the speaker and the content, all that kind of stuff. But there's also going to be some questions there about our next event and what's good, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, what you're comfortable with. Please be honest. Please respond to that candidly and help us get the guidance that we need to make events that you're going to want. That being said, I'll now introduce Nicola Barrett. She's the Chief Corporate Learning Officer of Emory's Executive Education Group. She's going to talk about what her group does and the great speaker that we have today. Nicola?
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. We're really pleased to collaborate with Emory Alumni Over 40 Group and the Office of Advancement and Alumni Engagement. So thank you, Kevin and Michael, for all your support in putting on today's event. For those of you who are not familiar with Emory Executive Education at Goizueta Business School, we provide advanced education opportunities for accomplished professionals and leaders like you through short programs for individuals and customized learning initiatives for organizations looking to develop their managers and executives. The ability to adopt new mindsets, learn new skill sets and tools, and unlearn those that don't serve us is a critical capability for everyone in business today. We believe every learner is unique and every organization we work with is different. So we spend time trying to understand the business challenges each are facing so that we in Emory Executive Education can facilitate the needed learning, be it the knowledge, the tools, the space for practice that are required to meet all of those challenges. Our goal is to ensure that graduates of our executive education programs are better prepared to affect change and lead the organizations of the future. And that is so critical today, even more so than it was even a year ago. With all the change and the challenges that we are each facing. Just to give you an idea of some of the things that we are doing this fall, we're hosting workshops and courses designed to prepare you to lead in the current COVID-19 era and also into the next normal. These include programs like executive communication and leadership presence, leading and inspiring change, negotiations and conflict management, executive decision-making, plus our foundations of coaching, which is the first step towards our executive coaching diploma, which if you act really fast, you could just sneak into because it starts in about 10 days time. So please contact us to learn more. Sarah Gill is on this call too, and so she can help you out as well as I can. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guide for today's session, Allison Gilmore, who teaches in our Executive Communication and Leadership Presence course that's coming up towards the end of October, as well as being a graduate of our Executive Coaching Diploma. She is also the director of Goizueta's doctoral program in business and a sought-after facilitator, trainer, and keynote speaker in the field of spontaneous and intuitive leadership. She uses a variety of business facilitation and improvisational techniques to impact individual, team, and organizational performance, working within diverse industries. She actually ran a session for my group a little while ago, and I still have, oops, you can't see it, the sticky note where I wrote down some salient points that she made and then try and practice them every day. Allison's going to run a fairly interactive session today as she explores building resilience through improv, including some breakout sessions. Don't be afraid, be ready, and they'll be fun. And last, thank you again to Emory's Office of Advancement and Alumni Engagement and the Emory Alumni Over 40 group for inviting us to be part of the session today. Allison, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to, everybody brace yourselves. I'm getting ready to share my screen. Let's see if I can actually do it. Okay. Here we go. Brandon, you let me know if I'm okay. How are we doing? Good? Awesome. Okay, so good afternoon. It's nice to see so many of you and see so many familiar faces. And I think I just messed that up. There we go. I am Allison. I'm the director of the PhD program here at Gilmore, and I also am an Emory alumni over a certain age group member as I attended Candler Seminary. My daughters both went to Emory, and they're also proud alumni of this great institution. I do appreciate Nicholas' kind words. I did just graduate from that coaching diploma program. So if there's anyone out there who's really seeking that opportunity, I could not advise it more strongly. The coaching program actually brings a lot of different types of science and art to the world of coaching. And so if you want any information about that, please see any of us after this event. A little bit of background about me beyond the fact that I run the PhD program. I'm an improvisational comedian here in Atlanta, and I have been such for about 30 some years. So I founded a couple different improv groups here in Atlanta, and you may wonder, what does improv have to do with business? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about that. So what are organizations looking for today? They're looking for more cooperation, for better teamwork, for shared knowledge, and achieve a shared success. In order to do that, we really have to flex that muscle, that ability to be creative, to be flexible, and being intuitive. However, there are very few tools to help you develop an intuitive or creative action in the moment, and that's where improvisation can help. A little bit of background.
Allison?
Yes.
Sorry, are you supposed to be sharing your screen?
I am.
Okay, because we can see you, which is lovely.
Okay.
If you also want to share some slides with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Like I said, give me grace as I work this out. I don't have my regular producer with me today. Okay. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, we see your screen.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's advance to that next slide about improvisation. Everybody good? We can see it. Give me a thumbs up if you can see what I've got going on. Yay. All right. Yay. So it's going to be a fun session. Can you tell already? So a little bit of background on how I came to be a part of faculty work at Guazetta. I was actually working in the executive MBA program, so there might be some alums from the exec program out there, when one of our leadership faculty members did my Myers-Briggs and he saw my intuition score. And it was the highest score he had ever seen, 99 on a 100% scale. And once he discovered that my background, my avocation outside of working at the business school was improvisation, he shared with me that he had been seeking to develop a curriculum around improv for our leadership programs at Guazetta. And so he challenged me right then and there in that moment about 15 years ago to create a curriculum, which we did. When we did that by going across the street to the library, a wonderful resource at Emory, particularly the business library. And we created a curriculum that we rolled out to our executive students. And now we teach across all degree platforms at Guazetta, along with other schools within the university. So that's how it came to be. So what you're going to experience today is grounded in academic research. Even the event that we're going to experience today, I've got a whole file here full of all my resource materials, and I'll be happy to share those after the event. So the goal of what we're going to do today is really bridge the art of improv with business management skills, so we can enhance your personal and professional toolkit. And while doing this, we're going to tie in the skills of resilience, even how we can build these skills during these trying times. And as Michael and Nicola have both addressed, you know, things are just not what we remember, what we recall. Things are really different right now. And so the need for that resilient skill set is greater than probably ever before. So we're going to see if we can bring these things together, the tools we use in improv, to help build your skills around resilience. The first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to check in with everybody. So we have a little interactive tool we're going to use now, and it's going to require you to use some of the tools that are on your computer. So I want you to just walk along beside me as we work on this one. We call this the mood meter. So I'm going to ask you all to look at the top of your screen, and you should see a green bar that says, "You are viewing Allison Gilmore's screen." Next to that green bar should be a black bar that says "View Options." If you will scroll your mouse over, wake your mouse up, scroll over to that View Options, like you see me doing now, and then from that pull down menu, choose Annotate. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to all find that tool right now. Once you're in the Annotate tool, you should see an option that says Stamp. From the stamp, please choose the check mark. Okay, you see there's a lot of other options, but for the purpose of this exercise, please just choose the check mark. We're going to advance the screen now. And you see now we have a grid here. The axis across the top is our degrees of pleasantness. So if you're not feeling really pleasant today, you might be on this end of that axis. But if you're excited and really energetic, you might be down on this side. On the vertical axis, we've got energy. So high energy here, low energy down here. So if you will now, I see a lot of you are making your check marks. Go ahead and place that check mark where you feel your mood might be today, especially as we broach this topic. How are we feeling? This gives me a great check-in with everybody to kind of see where we are. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot in yellow. We got a few blue. Some of you might need to get energized. Not feeling very pleasant. Okay. I'm going to keep that going for another second or two. Obviously, my screen must be working because I can see everything. Yay. All right. I'm now going to advance this slide and do a little quick reveal. Oh, we got some big checks. All right. I'm going to advance the slide for a reveal now and show you where your check marks landed in terms of the actual moods that Stanford built in this particular slide deck. So this is a tool we did borrow from another university, but check where you are now, like where you placed your check mark. And if you're on an iMac or an iPhone and you weren't able to enable that check mark, just for yourself, view these different emotions and kind of get a sense of where you're at as we lead into this workshop. So I'm seeing a lot of positive energy, a lot of positive pleasantness. And you can stop checking now. I was telling the folks on the alumni team that I recently taught this used this in a workshop I was teaching. And the next day, a faculty member followed me, and I found out at his workshop, people were checking all over his slides. So it's a great tool to know for Zoom and annotation for the use on your team. Giving you an example of that. But if you're in that place where you're feeling more blue or feeling more red, or maybe part of that comes because you heard the word improv, I'm here to share with you that we're going to try to push ourselves to a more positive place today. That's kind of the purpose of improv, is always be thinking about what's positive, what's good. And so as we move out of this particular exercise, I want to give us a quote that's a little encouraging. This is from Helen Keller. Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it. And I'm going to go back here as you think about that and clear off your drawings, if I can. And I think I can. And I'm going to say clear all drawings. There we go. Now we can move forward without check marks. Perfect. So the Helen Keller quote. So there is a lot of suffering that's happening right now. And we did a workshop for executive ed on humor in the workplace about a month ago. And one thing we really try to focus on that is, what is the good? What is it that we can still celebrate? Where can we still find joy? And that's what resilience will bring that skill for us as well. So first I'm going to go with some improv guidelines and talk about the skills we use on stage and how they might apply to building that resiliency. The first one is we listen actively. So we like to all think that we're good listeners, but I would ask you right now just to reflect for a moment on a time in recent history or history some while back where a deadline was missed, a date was missed, a project went over budget, a client was disappointed because someone didn't listen. And the way we listen is we call it active, engaged listening. If I don't listen to what's happening on stage with me, I could completely miss the plot line, the character name, whatever it might be.
Is extended to, not global.
I'm afraid someone's got their microphone on and we can hear that conversation. You may want to mute it so we don't hear private information. Our second rule of improvisation is that we defer judgment. So if I were to go out on stage and ask the audience member for a suggestion, what occupation would you like me to see me perform? And they say something like, I don't know, shoe salesman. I can't look at the audience member and say, no, I don't want to be a shoe salesman today. I have to accept what that suggestion was they gave me and dig within myself to figure out how to play a shoe salesman. Not too hard. Instead, we accept each other's reality. I would take that suggestion and say, okay, I'm a shoe salesperson, and now I'm going to move forward with this scene. We do this all with what we call a yes and mentality. So yes and is the founding tenet of improvisational thought and science here around the globe. But I want to be really clear, yes and is not about agreement. It's about accepting what's been given to you, whether it's a suggestion, feedback, a new idea, and then moving that idea along, if it's appropriate, with the word and, or helping to redirect that idea to something that might come to more fruition using that word and. The biggest thing we have to do in terms of improv, and also as we think about it, dealing with resiliency, is to be present, to actually pay attention to what's going on in your world. Honestly, for me, what's been helpful is, even in these difficult times, I find the opportunity to still find things that are meaningful, that are positive, by being present and paying attention. And we're going to work on those skills. The first skill we're going to work on, though, is the skill of listening. And in a moment, Brandon is going to put you who are participating into small breakout rooms. This would be 2 or 3 people each. And you're going to work on the concept of listening. Now, the way we're going to do this exercise is each of you will have the opportunity to tell the person in the breakout room with you the story of your name. So for instance, my name is Rachel Allison Dukes Gilmore. Rachel is my Old Testament biblical name. Allison is my soap opera name. So I have this business soap opera, biblical soap opera name and sort of a biblical soap opera life, honestly. My maiden name was Dukes, and I married someone whose last name was Gilmore. So I took the Do from Dukes and the More from Gilmore to create my company name, which is Do More. So those are the stories of my names in about a minute. So once you get into those breakout rooms, I'll give you a little bit of parameter of how this is going to play out. You'll take turns. One person will speak at a time, and they will tell the other people in the room the story of their name, just like I just did. If you don't know the story of your name, that's the story. Or just make something up. They won't know any different. What we're going to ask you to do is, if you are not telling the story of your name, you're doing two things. You're helping time the first person, giving them a minute to tell their story. They may finish sooner than that. And you are also going to listen and not speak. That sounds crazy, right? But as this person tells you their story, we want you to be silent, completely silent, and not say a word as they're telling you the story of their name. We do ask that you turn on your camera for the breakout session so you can see each other. And we'll give you about 3 minutes in the room. We'll send a message into the room when you've got a minute left. Come on back out to the main room. A couple things about breakout rooms. If you're not familiar with them or you haven't used them before, just once you get in there, if there's nobody in there, give it a few minutes, not a few minutes, give it about 30 seconds. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of maneuvering to get everybody loaded into those rooms. So don't rush right back. Wait, someone will join you. If you've been there in a minute and no one has joined you, come back to the big room and we'll play with you in the big room instead. So Brandon, when you're ready, we can send them into the breakout rooms. Remember, when that person's telling their story, you're being quiet and you're helping time them for that 1 minute. So everybody gets a turn. Everybody in the room will get a turn to tell their story.
All right, we're sending them into breakout rooms as of now.
Thank you.
Brandon, did you mean to send me to a breakout room?
I did not. So I was messaging Kevin and I was talking to you too. So there's certain things I don't have full access to with being an alternative host since I did not set up the meeting. So I'm trying to pull you guys out.
I just won't go to the breakout room. That's fine. All right.
I'm going to add somebody else to his room.
That was 4.
Hi, Deborah. Did you get a breakout room? Oh, sorry, we can't hear you there.
You're muted, Deborah.
Yeah, no, I did, but I was all alone.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
How about Margaret?
I also saw JC. Oh, she looks like she just dropped. Well, we're happy to do the name to you. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your name, the story of your name?
Sure. My name is Deborah Ann Kroll Brigham, I guess. I was Debbie growing up, but became Deborah in grad school. Decided it sounded a little more adult. I don't know why. But it is a biblical name, sort of like Allison was saying, you know, biblical names. My kids have biblical names. So I gave up using Ann, but that was my middle name growing up. And then Kroll is my Dutch maiden name. And then Brigham is my married name. I guess if I have a couple seconds left, Deborah does mean queen bee, and my mother, when she would be particularly upset with me, would tell me that I was acting like a queen bee, and that kind of stuck with me. I never liked that analogy, and I was like, "You're the one that named me." Don't be.
She just knew, I guess. Yeah, I'll share mine. My name's Sarah Elizabeth Ramsey Gill, and my sister wanted to name me Elizabeth, but I guess my parents didn't want to give her the naming rights. So they relegated her suggestion to my middle name, and then Sarah meaning princess. So I guess similar kind of assumptions, I guess they made. I also have a cousin with the same name, so I think it was also popular, at the time. And then my maiden name is Ramsey, and my married name is Gill. So now my middle name, Elizabeth, is gone because I wanted to hold on to my last name because our family only has girls. So, but yeah, so that's the quick story of my name. Thanks for sharing yours, Deborah.
Sure.
Allison, I'm going to send a message to everyone.
All right, great, perfect.
1 more minute.
Perfect, thank you. My chat box just disappeared.
Just put your cursor down the bottom. Will it come back?
It's so hard when you're sharing it. You got a PowerPoint going on to kind of try to find.
Hello.
Hi.
Here. Hey there.
We only had 2 people, so
Perfect.
we're already done. Except, yes, I don't see let's see, is my other person? Yes, Beth Ann and I. We were just the 2 of us in one room.
Did you have fun though?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the exercise is designed just to be 2 people, but given the Zoom environment we find ourselves in, sometimes it have to be, if we have an odd number too, sometimes it can be more than 2, but 2 is perfect.
Allison, I'm bringing them back in, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Waiting on who?
He's letting everybody else come back into the room. Brandon's allowing everybody else back in.
Oh, we jumped over ourselves.
That's it. So Teresa, are you a graduate of college or grad school or?
Both, actually. Yeah, I got undergraduate and master's degree.
Nice. And what topic?
Chemistry.
Chemistry. Wow. And Beth Ann, are you also an alum of the college?
Am I also a what?
A alum of the college or the grad school?
Well, in a roundabout way. I majored in undergraduate in chemistry and Spanish, double major. And then I got an MD and an MPH.
Mm-hmm.
Allison, everyone's in.
All right, terrific. Yay. So good that everybody's back. So we would love to, at this point, you can use a chat or you can unmute yourself and share, but a quick debrief on that exercise. So the intention of it is to help us think about how we listen. And I would ask if anyone would be willing maybe to share what they learned about the person they were in the room with. Can you tell us what the other person's name is all about? So if any volunteers for that to share what you learned? I mean, I could just call on you. If not, I know that Beth Ann and Teresa came back in the room and shared with us. So Teresa, would you mind sharing with us what you learned about Beth Ann? You can unmute your microphone.
Sure. One thing that I learned about Beth Ann, I went first and then she went second, and I found out that we both have names given to us by our mothers that were their best friends' names. So that was very interesting that we both shared that. Also, I'll mention that one thing that I noticed that made me feel good was that Beth Ann, she thanked me when I was finished with my story, and that was just a very nice touch that made me feel like she appreciated me telling her the story. That was a very nice touch.
How did it feel to have her give you her undivided attention?
Yes, very nice, yeah.
So we've heard that described as luxuriously awkward. But oftentimes we're so unaccustomed to people not interrupting us or not interjecting to tell us, what they thought of the debate last night, of whatever it might have been. And so how do we give someone our full attention so we can fully understand and hear what it is they have to share? Beth Ann, did you have any major takeaways from sharing your name with Teresa that you would like to share with everyone else? You'll need to unmute your microphone too. Sorry. There we go.
All right. She was smiling throughout and friendly.
And what did you learn about her name?
Um,
I guess those similarities like she shared, right? That you both were named for friends of your mom's. So
yeah.
you found something in common in that little minute, that little 2-minute time you had together.
Well, I
So
skipped over that. I wasn't too impressed by that.
So the point of this exercise is really to help us think about designated, engaged, active, being present, and really hearing what someone else has to say. It's the difference between listening to respond or listening to understand. So often we do get in conversations with folks, and maybe we all spark ideas and creativity and thought with each other, and we're not saying never interrupt or never acknowledge or comment on someone else's contributions. What we are suggesting is that we do it in a more respectful way, and then we actually allow someone to get their thought out before we jump in. We call that future thought. Thinking about what you're going to say prohibits or blocks present action. You're not really truly engaged with that person if all you can think about is what you want to say. It's funny, my mom just turned 84 last week on Sunday, and my dad was 84 in June, and I was with them back in March before we were all quarantined. And my dad started down a path of a story. And my mom just couldn't help herself. I mean, she's like interruption ninja. I could almost see her physically running to jump into this conversation. She immediately like interrupts my dad. And he's seen my workshops and stuff before enough to know he just stopped her. Her name is Ray, R-A-Y-E. He goes, Ray, that is not what I was going to say. If you'd let me finish, I'd be done by now, right? So oftentimes, if you have those people in your life that you think about when you have conversations with them, and you almost have like a, oh no, before you even have the conversation, because they take up so much of your time. We would suggest that you, next time you have an engagement with that person, you observe your own behavior in that engagement. Are you throwing up walls or questions or comments that are causing them to slow down and start their story over? Elizabeth Beasley, who used to work with me, worked at Cartoon Network for a number of years. And she tells a story after we taught this exercise to about 1,000 people. She was like, I'm just going to try it with this guy. She had this guy who would come into her office every Monday morning and go through all of his weekend escapades. And she said he would take like 15 or 20 minutes of my productive time every day talking about what he did over the weekend. And I decided I would just sit with him and listen to him and give him my full attention instead of asking him details like, what did you order? Or did you get her phone number? Or who won the game? And all of a sudden those engagements went from 20 minutes to 15 to 10 to 5. So listening is important for a lot of reasons. We know it's a huge component of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. We are showing each other respect when we actually listen to each other. And it's really important to note that we learn when we're listening. We don't learn anything when we're talking, but we can learn so much when we're listening. And then with that knowledge gained from listening, we have the opportunity to build an alliance, to build a partnership. And it doesn't have to take place just in the workplace. I mean, I've learned so much about the content that I share and the way I conduct myself and my business by things that I learned from committees I sit on, or neighborhood block parties, or committees at my church. And so learning can happen all the time if we, again, are present, we're paying attention, and we're actively listening. So thank you for participating in that exercise. And I would challenge you to, when you leave this workshop, to observe how you engage in conversations, and when are you interrupting, and when are you hijacking, and when are you letting somebody get their story out. We're going to move focus now a little bit. We've warmed up a little bit. Those are both warm-up exercises, and now we're going to think about resilience. So why do we even need it? Why do we need resilience? Well, it's more than just bouncing back from a difficult situation. Resilience is really about our ability to adapt to complete change. With our current onslaught of problems facing us today, whether it be our economy, our issues, our social justice issues, a pandemic, the economy, whatever it might be. There's so much happening right now. You add to that the idea that change very often is the only constant in organizational life, then we must cultivate resilience as an ongoing skill. It's not just for the big moments in life, but it's a daily practice. And how do we remain nimble and resilient in these uncertain times, for sure? So in its purest definition, it's being able to adapt and bounce back when something difficult happens in our lives. And we've all been faced with lots of difficulty. We're human beings, all trying to share this human experience. It's the ability to pick ourselves up after trauma or a painful experience. And it is a skill that can be learned, and it will serve us well in dealing with the current status of things in our world. It's about our ability, again, to adapt to complete change. I'll let that soak in for just a second as I reflect on the listening exercise that we just did. The other thing I wanted to share was Teresa and Bethane, in the 1 minute they shared with each other, found something they had in common. And if we had the opportunity for all of us who did that exercise to all share what we learned from each other, we would find out that we are a lot more alike than we think we are. Again, we're humans trying to have this human experience. So resilience, how can that help us? A quote from Dr. King: "The true measure of a man is not how he behaves in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands at times of controversy and challenges." So the importance of resilience. It enables us to develop mechanisms for protection against experiences that could be overwhelming. Resilience helps us maintain balance in our lives during stressful periods. And resilience can also protect us from the development of some mental health difficulties and issues. And I wanted to add really quickly that I will be adding to this deck before it's distributed to you a list of resources from the CDC. So if you're really struggling with the stress that we've got right now to the point that you think it's developing into some sort of mental health issue, there are lots of resources out there for you that are available, especially if you're an Emory employee or an Emory alumni. Those resources do exist within Emory, and we want to share those with you as we attempt to be really helpful in not only thinking about stress, but if you're dealing with it on a higher level, how can we be of help there too? So the common traits of resilient people: acceptance, and these all come from Daniel Goleman in an article he wrote for Harvard Business Review. If you're not familiar with Dr. Goleman, he was the creator of the notion of emotional intelligence. And a lot of his work is what we use to create our content. So he says the traits of resilient people: acceptance of reality. And we just talked about that, didn't we? When we talked about yes and how we use that to accept reality. A deep belief that life is meaningful, that there's something that exists here that has meaning, and to be resilient, to move through the challenges as we continue to live a life that is meaningful. It's the ability to look at the same thing from many different perspectives. In the world of improvisation, that's something we have to do constantly, because we're constantly getting new input, new data, new information that we use to build our stories and our songs on stage. And we all come to the stage with different perspectives. And if you think about the team within which you work right now, if you're in an organization, everybody has a different perspective. And that perspective can be based on a lot of different things. It can be based on previous experience. It could be based on your tenure and how long you've actually been within an organization. If you might have an employee who's only been there 6 months, but you've been there 20 years. That's a different perspective. If you bring everybody in your organization together, the folks from accounting might have a completely different perspective than the folks in sales when it comes to certain things, right? Or technology, whatever it might be. So if we can come together and look at the same thing from different perspectives and then share that, that helps us build more resilient teams as well. And he says it's an uncanny ability to improvise, to being able to think in the moment, to respond in the moment to unknown items, through that acceptance of reality model. So how do we bring improv and resilience together? Resilience is the strength to engage with whatever's available in new ways, which is what we do when we improvise all the time. Resilience helps us to work within limitations that we might seem unfair or arbitrary, new data that comes to us, new information that is limiting in some way. How do we break through that with resilience? And it's our ability to respond creatively to conditions which are part of everyday life. And as we've remarked on several times now, everyday life is really different than it was 9 months ago. So how do we respond creatively to the conditions of our new everyday life? I don't know about you, but my everyday life has changed quite a bit. Helping to find new rituals and practices helps keep sort of a sense of everyday habits, and that helps with resilience as well. And we'll talk about that in just a sec. Improv cultivates creative thinking under pressure. We like to say sometimes the do improvisation is like going out on a limb of a tree with a saw in your hand, and you're just sawing that limb off behind you, not really sure where you're going to land. So under pressure, it's exactly what we need to be resilient in the face of stress. Spontaneous thinking, which can be cultivated through improv, is at the heart of the psychological strength to respond under pressure. And then spontaneity helps us make the most out of what we are given, which is at the heart of resilience. So we're going to take you through an improv exercise again. When you go into the breakout rooms, we're going to ask you to please put your cameras back on so you can see each other, because you're now going to do a brainstorm. So in a moment or two, Brenda's going to put you in groups of 4 or 5 people in breakout rooms. And you are now going to brainstorm the idea for a business idea. So in true improv fashion, I'd like to ask you now to use the chat box and to please give me some suggestions on 3 or 4 things in life that make you happy. What is something that's positive? What's something that you can think about that are happy suggestions? And I'm getting some chats. Okay, terrific. Beach, music, sports, travel, family, learning, work, jobs, food. All right, these are great. Oh, pets. Okay. Okay, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to ask you, oh my gosh, Kevin, you said saltine crackers. Yesterday, I was feeling queasy and I told my husband, I need a Triscuit or a saltine cracker. It's like medicine in my house growing up. So what's going to happen is you're going to go into these rooms of 4 or 5 people, and you're going to brainstorm the idea for a new business or a nonprofit. And I'm going to give you 3 of these words that you're going to use to brainstorm with. Okay? The way the brainstorm is going to work is like this. Say I was in the room with Kevin and David, because I can see the 2 of them up top. And maybe I say to Kevin, hey, Kevin, I think we should start a nonprofit where we teach children how to collect seashells. Kevin, what do you think? And Kevin's going to say, no, but I think we should start a nonprofit where we sell those seashells and then contribute the money to a beach cleanup charity. Okay, that's just me off the cuff. Now, one thing I didn't tell y'all is I don't have a filter. I don't think of the words I'm going to say before I say them. There's no processing. So that's both a description of how my brain works and a disclaimer that I could say things I didn't intend to say. So sorry. So I'm going to give you 3 words. You're going to use those as your topics. You can use 1 of the words, 2 of the words, 3 of the words. It's completely up to your group whether you include all 3 words or not. I'm going to now put in the chat box what those words are. So just to be really clear again on the dynamics, 1 person in each team will start. They'll make an opening statement of an idea they have, a brainstorm on a new business or nonprofit. You will go in order, establish order in your room. You can follow the screen around if you need to do it that way. But I want you to go around at least 2 times brainstorming an idea for a nonprofit or business. And your response is always going to be the words no, but, and then your idea. Your topics, because I can't let this one be, are going to be saltine crackers. I'm putting these in chat. Learning and nature. Okay? You got saltines, learning, nature. You can use 1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them. Start your words with no but. Go around at least 2 times, sharing in your group, and we'll come back in here and debrief. Brandon, when you're ready to send them into groups.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, see y'all in a minute. We'll give you about 3 minutes.
Brandon, are those 5 people, Bethane, Susan, Chai, Vin, and Nancy, in breakouts? They've been.
Say it one more time.
So there are 5 people still in the session here and not in breakouts.
They should all have gotten a message to go into the breakout rooms.
So my guess is if their audio is off and their camera's off, they have walked away.
I can still see Bethane.
Okay.
And do you have a group to join?
She went to her group. They just took a minute.
And just as an FYI, I think the recording is continuing during the break.
So don't say anything bad about anybody. So how much time do y'all want at the end?
I don't think we need much time for the closeout for at least the information about Emory Exec Ed. So
I've got about 6 more slides. I'm going to talk about strategies for building resilience. I'm at 12:48. So when they come back, we'll debrief. We'll send them back in to do the yes and part of it. I see me probably being able to wrap up by like maybe 10 after or quarter after. Is that a problem?
no, I don't think giving people time back in their day is a problem.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we don't want to fill it for the sake of filling it, so.
Yeah.
That's a gift, Allison.
Okay, good. I just heard digging like crazy while I was talking a minute ago. I'm like, I don't know what all that noise is. I don't know what I just said. What did I just say? All right. So Nancy said she's listening, but she can't. Right now. Okay.
Well, we're glad you're here, Nancy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Brandon, what time are we at? I mean, how long have they been in there? Do you recall?
Say like 2 minutes now.
Okay. I'd say we'll give them a 1-minute warning in a minute.
Okay.
So that gives them a total of, about 4 minutes?
All right, I'm gonna send a message. It's only been 1 minute.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the rooms.
Great, thank you.
They're having us, another message just popped up in the group saying they have 60 seconds to get out.
Great. So I'm going to have them debrief that, and then we're going to send them right back to do a second round, just FYI.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll leave these groups the same.
Perfect. Sure.
Yeah. Allison, 30 more seconds.
Okay. I think everybody's back. Just about. All right. So as we're going to lead you through a debrief, we're going to go through a debrief now. Wait for everybody to get back. Here we go. Look at all those happy faces. Back. You survived the breakout room again. So I'm looking for anyone who is willing to share what happened in your breakout room. What did you come up with when you said no but? Anyone, unmute your microphone and just give me feedback. Or just share your experience with the group.
In group 7, we built on each other's ideas. So even though we used the no but, we incorporated the previous ones before us when we were building up on our ideas.
So Georgia, you found out the trick in the game, didn't you?
Oh, I think we did. We did.
So it's funny how often we'll have people who say, it was so hard to say no. And the thing is, we have you go through that exercise because if you listen to yourself after this workshop, you'll find that it's pretty easy to say no, and you might say it more often than you think you do. So to go through that experience of actually specifically saying no, to see what did you come up with a lot of ideas in your groups, right? So it was generating that divergent thinking. We've got all these ideas that are happening, right? But did you come up with anything conclusive as a group? Pretty impossible when we say no to each other. And we do it in really creepy little ways. We just ignore, we flat out say no. How did anybody want to share what it felt like to have somebody look at you and just say, no, not going to work? I mean, even though we think in the virtual world, we've got that technology behind, between you and me, but we're still trying to, outside of Zoom fatigue, we're still trying to make connections here, right? In the virtual world and trying to make eye contact and watch body language and nonverbals and that type of thing. But you flat out said no to each other and you didn't really go anywhere. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put you back in those breakout rooms for one more round. We're going to give you a different set of topics to brainstorm. And we're going to ask you now to do the exact same thing. The only difference now is that you're going to replace the words no but with the words yes and see what changes for you personally and see what changes for your group. Your topics this time are going to be hiking, beach, and music. Okay? So enjoy, again, go a couple rounds, and you have unlimited resources. The only limitation you have is your own creativity. So get as creative and it's fun. This is meant to be really interactive, to really get to know the people in your group in a creative way by supporting each other ideas and building upon them and see what happens next. Brandon, when you're ready.
And we're off.
Hiking, beach, and music. Dana, did you not get an invite? Oh, there you are. There you go. Okay. I do feel like I'm in the debate from last night now because I keep writing notes to myself.
Also, just the conversation about interruption, right? I am speaking.
Yes. Yes. I would have stood up. Yeah. But I have the, I mean, I don't have two negatives against me like Kamala might, you know what I mean? In terms of being able to do that. But we probably shouldn't talk politics as being recorded, so sorry.
Probably not.
Correct. Yeah.
So what was our total in terms of numbers?
I think with all of us, we were the highest number I saw was 42.
Okay.
And then I think people started dropping off when they knew they had to go to a breakout room.
They did. It dropped a lot. I had to change the number of the room several times.
Oh my gosh, that is interesting.
But interesting learning, right? So
Yeah.
you know, about the expectations, probably, you know, what people think are going to happen, right?
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe it could be they don't want to put the cameras on.
Yeah, maybe they're working on something, you know, they want to passively engage and
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I did the coaching diploma program, and every time that they would send us into breakout rooms, we would all like brace ourselves because we all knew each other, right? 30 some people in the program. Like, who am I going to be with this time? And we go, oh, it's you. We haven't worked together yet.
I know, big sigh of relief, right? I think, didn't you and I at one time, Allison,
Yes.
in the same break, I was like, oh, thank God.
This person's not going to make me work so hard.
That was early days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was back in March, I think.
Yes.
Or April. I can't remember which one.
I do have one of our business librarians was interested in the coaching diploma program. Do you guys know all the librarians? I think Syra Raza, she's in the Emory Business Magazine this month because she's also a composer and a cellist.
Ooh.
Hey, Allison, I'm sending a message, just FYI.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, there's a feature article about her in Emory Business this issue.
Okay. I think there were 3 people from Emory in the program.
So far, yeah.
But I don't know whether she's one of them.
I'll reach out to her today because I'm not sure it's on her radar. It's starting back up.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 things. I'm going to introduce you to Dana, who's on the call today, and then connect Sarah. Who should I connect Sarah with Nicola, should I just directly with you or somebody on your team?
Sorry, which Sarah? Sarah Gill or Sarah?
For the coaching diploma?
Syra, I'm sorry, Syra from
Syra.
the library.
Lauren Flamer.
Oh, okay.
You know Lauren, right?
Yeah. Lauren, who's been in Atlanta and stuck in her.
All right, Allison, I'm sending them back in. I'm closing the room.
Thank you, Brandon. That's all. That's the last time. We won't need those again. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. And they should all be coming back in.
Okay.
I mean, fortunately, Lauren lives right near Piedmont Park, so
Yeah.
the big playground there.
Hey, Raquel.
Hey, how are you, Allison? This is awesome.
Hey, Raquel and I are in a women's entrepreneur group together, as is Dana, who started the group, who's somewhere on this list as well. There she is. There's Dana. Okay, so what changed for you that round? Please feel free to share. What happened? Did you come up with something cool? Did you come up with a cool business or nonprofit? I see head nods, but you guys could put words to those nods.
Yeah, we came up with a nonprofit that would service young youth at risk, and this would be an alternative detention of some sort that would employ alternative therapies like art, music, outdoor experience, and they would work in small groups to learn teamwork.
That's amazing, because you had hiking, beach, and music, so bringing those different kind of therapies in makes all kind of sense. Very cool. Who else? Who else wants to share what their group came up with?
Well,
we came up with a pretty. Go on. That's all right.
Well, we were talking about kind of exploring the impact of music on wildlife. Well, you know, different types of music and whether how it impacts their behavior and things like that. But I'm going to steal what Raquel commented on at the end of our group, was that the yes and requires a lot more active listening, because the no but, you don't have to be listening at all. You can just be focused on what you're going to say after the person.
Yeah, I like to share with people that yes but is worse than no but. Because yes but is I heard your idea and I still think it sucks, right? So I caution you. Actually, it's more about that word "but." It's like a stop sign that gets thrown up to you. But when you start building, when you start saying "and," you're taking things to a place they haven't been before. And just as we talked about resilience and the way of looking at things in different perspectives, looking at things in new ways, that's what yes and can really help you do. So it's about acceptance. It's about building. And honestly, yes and is about the future. It's what's next. It's what's next. It's what's next. Because that and takes you that further step. And you're right, Deborah and Raquel, it does require more intensive listening. Because when you were saying no to each other, you're like, no, here's my thing. But once you started saying yes and, you really had to listen. There's a game we play on stage called Yes, Let's. And someone gives a suggestion and you go, let's go to the park. Yes, let's. And all of a sudden you find yourself in the park and you're in the park for a little while and someone says, let's go swing on the swings. Yes, let's. So let's is another way we can build upon that. But there are a lot of really very easy ways to say yes and. You can say things like cool, great, awesome. Or like we heard mentioned by Beth Ann and Teresa when they talked about their names, thank you. The words that we say and the way we use them carry so much impact. And part of this is empathy too, like understanding the other person's perspective and really listening to key in on what might be important to them. When we teach undergrads and MBA students networking skills in order to get a job, we always say, you have to listen for the subtext of what's being asked of you. And you can model your response based on what you're hearing that person say, that what's inferred. So again, listen to yourself. When are you cutting people off, shutting people down? And when are you saying yes and accepting and moving forward with another person? It's so funny. My husband and I were cooking just last night, and Nicola and Sarah probably heard me tell a similar story. but we're standing in the kitchen and we got the refrigerator open and we're in the pantry and we're trying to figure what is going to be to dinner tonight. And my husband's giving me ideas. And finally he stopped me. He said, honey, you keep no butting me. When are you going to yes and me? You just said no but to me 3 times in a row. So even those of us who are practitioners of it for 30 years have a hard time always remembering it. But my response to him was, why did I teach you this? Because now he calls me out on it, right? And my children are really good at it too. And honestly, if you get good at saying yes and, you can use it to say no. So I'll give you a quick example. We were down in Tampa last summer with my daughter, my youngest daughter, who's very Caucasian. She's blonde, blue-eyed, freckles like crazy, burns. And I love being on the water. So we're walking along the big boardwalk along the waterfront in Tampa, and we see my favorite boat, a Boston whaler, go cruising by. And I looked at that boat and I said, oh my gosh, I would give anything to be on that boat right now. That looks like so much fun. And my daughter looks at me and she goes, yeah, Mom, you'd really enjoy that. And we kept walking, right? And we get about a block down. She goes, did you notice what I did back there? And I'm like, no. She went, there's no way in hell I'd get on that boat. I would burn to a crisp. I'd be miserable. But I didn't say, no, Mom, that's not a good idea. I said, Mom, you would really enjoy that. I totally yes-anded you, Mom. And I'm like, psych. She learns this stuff faster than anybody I've ever taught. And she uses it against me. No, not against me. But if you get really good at using it, you can say things, yes, that's a great idea. And have you thought about how it will impact the rest of our budget for the month? Or yeah, and that's a great project we should bring into the workplace. Do you think we might want to finish this initiative before we start a new one? So it's more about acknowledging people's contributions, right? We hire people and we work with people because we want to work with their brain and their creativity and their intelligence. But if we're always shutting them down, they may stop contributing. And the reality is, in the world of virtual learning and virtual conferencing, virtual engagement, it gets easier to say no because you take that physical part away. Okay, so we woke up our brains, we did a little listening exercise, we delved into the world of no and yes in terms of improv, and now we're going to talk a little bit about some specific strategies that tie these two worlds together, improvisation and resilience. So some strategies for resilience, increasing your resilience, include practicing self-awareness. So I don't know if you're like me, but during these days, I have one day a week when I know I'm going to be anxious. So I'm really aware of that. And I work to create strategies to help me around that. But if I wasn't self-aware, I might not know that that was what I was experiencing, that I was experiencing stress, that I was experiencing anxiety. So how do you do a check-in with yourself and practice and watch what you're doing? How are you engaging with people? How are you more aware? When are you calling people by their names, making eye contact, saying yes? Curb misplaced irritability. So I don't know about you, but for some of us, there might be this notion of being more irritable to the people that we love the most or care about the most. It's usually easier to be irritable with people that you care about when our guard is down. But if something's happened in your day that's made you irritable, I would suggest you don't go home and take it out on a spouse or a kid or a pet, right? But curb that misplaced irritability, recognize where it's coming from, and taking care of the people in your life. Take care of yourself physically. It's a great time now. This weather's better. We can all go get out and at least take a walk. But pay attention to your body, because our stressors, sometimes we recognize our emotions in our body before we recognize them in our mind, right? So if you've got a rapid heartbeat, or if you've got a shortness of breath, if you're feeling a little nauseous, what is it that your body might be telling you that you're experiencing in terms of stress and anxiety that you don't even recognize, but your body's telling you? So take care of yourself physically and pay attention to what your body might be saying. Courageously face the stressor. Then take inventory of your coping responses. So I know for a fact that my stressor is Monday morning. I, have great weekends. I go to bed on Sunday night, and I can tell myself, oh my gosh, try not to be stressed tomorrow. But there's something about living in quarantine that I wake up on Monday mornings and I go, oh, it's not over. It's still the same. It's still here, right? And we got to start another week in quarantine. So I've been taking inventory of my coping responses. one of the reasons that Monday's also a problem for me is we live in between two houses that hire blowers and mowers. And we know on Monday mornings, those guys are going to show up, and for 2 solid hours, I'm going to hear 2-stroke gasoline powered blowers, which really is, I have noise sensitivity. So instead of, when it first happened, I'm like, to the neighbors and Facebook posting. And then I went, you know what? Figure out how you're going to cope with it. So we now know that Mondays mean we go to Lake Avondale and walk around the lake, or we go to the farmer's market, or we, just take a drive. So in inventory, how are you coping with what's causing you stress? How you face that stressor? Avoid other unnecessary changes in your life right now and just stabilize your environment, right? Stabilize your family environment, your home environment, your work environment, whatever it might be. And avoid big unnecessary changes. I know a lot of people are making big changes because they're home. We've painted 2 rooms. We put in 7 new flower beds. My husband built a new pond. But those weren't unnecessary, they weren't like big unnecessary changes. They were more of a distractor. Take time out to rest and calm both your mind and body. So I will share with you that last week there was just something going on that was stressful in my job. And I took a moment and I literally went upstairs to my room and I just laid down. And I laid down for like 15 minutes. We call it a disco nap. And I didn't even nap, but I just laid down and calmed my mind, thinking about how I'm going to cope. And it really helped a lot. And it just took 10 minutes. And keep your power. Don't let anybody take your power from you. Stay involved on a regular schedule. Try to keep as regular a schedule as you can. There's a woman who works in the Guazetta MBA Impact Program who's also a neighbor. And she told me what's been really helpful for her is that she knows at 9 o'clock she has a coffee and walks around the block. And when she comes back, her day starts. And then at 5 o'clock, she pours herself a glass of wine and walks around the block. And she knows her day has ended. So keeping a regular schedule, keeping familiar activities. Kevin has taken up yoga. Deborah is saying, are you not seeing my deck? Can y'all not see my deck again?
I see it.
Okay. Focus on what you can control over rather what you can't control, right? So sometimes there's things that are happening at this level that's not within my pay grade. And I'm going to stay down here and work on the things that I can control, knowing those big decisions are without my purview and I can't control them. But I can respond to them when I do get information. But what can you control? Focus on that as opposed to the things you can't control that are out of your control. And then create concrete, easily achievable tasks. That gives you that sense of accomplishment that even if I can't control everything that's going on, I can sweep my dining room today. I can buy some new flowers and put them in the flower bed today. I can make dinner tonight. So there are those easily achievable tasks that you can create for yourself that give you that sense of positive feedback that I am control something in my life. These will help build resilience. And then lastly, help other people. We're all in this together. So the people that live next door to you are enduring just the same level of stress and anxiety you probably are. I took my she just turned 5, my next door neighbor. I took her flowers yesterday because it was her birthday. How can we help the people out around us? Because we're not alone. And that's something to remember too. If another technique or another tip is reach out to people in your lives. If there are folks you haven't talked to in a month or 6 months or a year, now's a good time to reach out, see how they're doing. Make sure you're helping as you can. And then if you're a person of faith, practice your faith. That's a great way for us to find that comfort and that solid ground foundation that you might need during this time. Reach out to other people within your faith practice, and then be a good listener. Again, as we practiced earlier, how can we listen to what someone really wants to share instead of trying to project upon them what we think? Actually be a good listener. And then this is straight from the world of improvisation. Every time I do a performance or even a workshop when we're doing this live, the people that I hire to work with me or the people that I'm on stage with, we look to each other before any session begins and we say, I have your back, I have your back, I have your back, right? Because our responsibility to each other on stage is to make each other look good. We don't stand backstage and go, I'm going to be the funniest. We think, how can we collectively provide good entertainment and laughs to our paying customers and audience members? So what would that look like within your family unit, your organizational unit, wherever you might be? If you just had this sort of a mantra of having each other's back and lifting each other up, what happens is the whole entire group gets lifted, right? Because you're all holding each other up and having each other's back. I'm going to end with one quick quote, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah and Nicola for a little information about Exec Ed again. I will be teaching the Executive Presence October 21st, I think is that week. So if you'd like to see me again, come join us for Executive Presence and Communications. And then this last quote from Mandela. Do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and I got back up. I hope these were words of inspiration for you today. I hope that you had fun while you learned. And I hope that some of these learning skills and these strategies will resonate with you. And we would be happy, for those of you who registered, to send this deck out so that you've got these strategies in front of you. Thank you so much for your participation. I can't do what I do unless you're willing to go there with me. So with that, I will turn it over to our Exec Ed team.
Thank you so much, Allison, and thank you for all the great insights and just great opportunity to get to know everyone attending today and do a little bit of creative networking. As Allison mentioned, we've collaborated today with Michael and Kevin on this great event, the Emory Executive Education Group, just to tell you a bit about some events we have coming up and some courses. Every Thursday morning, we're hosting something called Business Over Breakfast, and we're addressing different topics each month. And this month is focused on embracing change for the next normal. So these are complimentary webinars, just an hour long out of your morning. A number of alumni have been attending, so I'm sure they can share their experiences with you. But coming up next week, we'll be focusing on leading change in turbulent times, followed by rapidly pivoting business models. So if you'd like to join us, you can find an event link on our website, and I'll share it into today's chat. And Allison, if you don't mind, go to the next slide there.
Here we go.
As Emory alumni, you are eligible for special course rates for Emory Executive Education too. So we are part of Boise Weta Business School, so our classes focus on the business perspective on a variety of leadership topics. You can see some here. We have some personal events and workshops like our personal financial fitness, but as Allison mentioned, she'll be teaching in our Executive Communication and Leadership Presence course. We'll be focusing on negotiations, leading and inspiring change, finance and accounting, as well as executive decision making. So I'll leave just a little a link inside the chat for those who are looking for that information, and you can feel free to contact me. I'll include my email if you want more information on the special rates for our Emory alumni. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin and just say thank you again to Allison and to everyone for being with us here today. So over to you, Kevin, whenever you're ready.
You have to unmute yourself though.
There you go. Thank you. Well, on behalf of the Emory Alumni Association, I want to thank all of you who participated today and offer special thanks to our presenter, Allison. That was just great. And to our friends at GBS, Sarah and Nicola. We'll be sending a survey in the next day or two, looking for your feedback and asking for suggestions about other kinds of events that you would like to see us produce. And while I have you, I want to say just a word about networks. This may be your first experience with an Emory network. Networks are about building community. It's about your Emory family. Think of networks as a way to give back to Emory, but maybe more importantly, as ways for Emory to give back to you or to us as alums. So thank you again, and we hope to see you next time.